So welcome everybody to this session. A couple of housekeeping rules for this session. Please, I'm going to mute everybody, and if you could turn off your video, that would help Subi a lot. Please write your comments and questions in the chat box. Subi's presentation is going to be 45 minutes, and then we're going to have 15 minutes of Q&A. So if I will read the questions at the end of the presentation, and then Subi will try to answer them as much as we can, time allowed. And so let me go ahead and mute everybody real quick. And Subi, you are now unmuted. I will turn the floor over, and in universal sign language, please help me welcome Subi Matur.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Trent, for that wonderful introduction. And that could have been, I couldn't have written better myself. So I'm glad you didn't have my introduction with you. Fellow Toastmasters, to be or not to be emotional. To be
Please share your screen.
Or not to be emotional.
We see it.
That is the choice that you have. Let me tell you a story. There was a gentleman who was an avid surfer. He went to surf. He went far away from the other people. And he went so far away, and he was waiting for the big wave to come. Suddenly he realized there was something white beside him, white and huge. It was a huge shark, 14 feet long shark. He froze in fear. He tried to just use the surfing board like a paddle and paddle his way away from the shark. And he realized it is not working. He was frozen in fear. But then he thought, I have to survive this. And he got mad. I'm going to get out of it. And he took his surfboard and pointed the pointed end towards the shark and pushed it at the shark. He kept pushing and he kept pushing, and the shark backed off. That gave him enough time to swim fast. Wave came, carried him forward. He probably was the only person who survived a shark attack. And let me examine what happened to him. When you are faced with a challenge, you first feel it in the back, in the spinal column. And then it goes to the limbic system. And that is when the fear gets intensified. All the stress hormones flow through your body and you're frozen. You cannot do anything. Then when you recover from it, you say, I can think rationally and wave over. Yes, here in the front. That is when you decide, I can do something. Have you faced a situation, leaders, when you are in a team and you feel frozen just because you are unable to do anything about something that's going on because you have no clue what is going on? That is where the emotional intelligence comes handy. The person has IQ, but one thing we always overlook is the emotional quotient, the emotional intelligence. And then the personality. The personality has combination of IQ and EQ. It is not that all the people with high IQ have very good personality and that the people with EQ have low personality. No, it is sometimes the other way around. So what is emotional intelligence? Not letting emotions manage you, but you manage your emotions in a positive way. And the real results come from putting your momentary needs in pause to pursue larger, more important goals. Just think about it. The real results come by putting your momentary needs on hold to pursue larger, more important goals. These are the facts, known facts from research. People with the highest IQ outperform those with low IQ only 20% of the time. Emotional coefficient, however, accounts for 58% of successful performance in all kinds of jobs. You will find in the job review of people, very often the managers are saying, he is a people's person. You cannot tell when he is upset with something, and he is very calm under all circumstances. Those are the people you have to look for emotional intelligence. And this is something very important for those of you who are in jobs, who want to increase your income. Every point increase in emotional coefficient adds $1,300 per year into one's salary. Just think about it. You can make more money by having emotional intelligence. The fact, however, remains only 36% of us, we recognize our emotions. Even to recognize, very important, we don't recognize. And the people, these are the people, minority of the people who can avert brewing conflicts. The conflicts come because of lack of emotional intelligence. Aristotle once said, anyone can become angry. That is easy. But to be angry with the right person, to the right degree, at the right time, for the right purpose, and in the right way, this is not easy. He said it. And he has, in a way, summarized emotional intelligence. So what are the components? What are the skills you need for emotional intelligence? First of all, it is your personal competence. You have to be aware of yourself, self-awareness. If you are aware of your own emotions, and when do the emotions get ruffled, then you can manage yourself. Self-management comes next. That also takes you to the social competence. Then you become aware of other people's emotions and of other people's requirements, social awareness. And then it comes to relationship management. If you are aware of other people's emotions and if you are aware of your own emotions, then your relationships are healthier. What are the benefits of emotional intelligence? You know, it will surprise you. There are so many things that hinge on your emotional intelligence. Flexibility, accountability, decision-making, time management, confidence and assertiveness, empathy to people, and even presentation and communication skills. Social skills, of course. Anger management, very important. In the teamwork, the anger management is a very important component. So, fellow Toastmasters, so you realize how important emotional intelligence is for leadership. So what are the qualities of emotionally intelligent people? One thing is, they are always positive. They go for the positive. They never accept negative. And they have a robust emotional vocabulary You will never hear from them saying, oh, I don't like it, or it is not going to work. They are always going to say, yes, it will work. I can do it. And they are assertive and confident. And very important, this is very important. They are interested in other people. They are curious about other people. They are also quick to forgive, but that doesn't mean they have forgotten what hurt they got from that experience. But they move forward. But they will not let anybody limit their joy. Nobody can rob the joy from an emotionally intelligent person. And the emotionally intelligent people are very difficult to offend because they have a sense of humor. They always can face objections and criticism with equanimity. And they squash negative self-talk. They don't say, I can't do it. There is never a task that is tough for them. Just think of leaders like Mahatma Gandhi. Such a simple man. He was actually a lawyer, and he was wearing a loincloth and going around the whole country. And the big British people thought, oh, he is a fakir. What can he do? He never did a self-negative talk. He taught the whole country not to do negative self-talk. He told the whole country, you are not slaves. You are going to get independent. And he was focused and he did it. So that is the kind of person who is emotionally intelligent, who carries the whole people following him with him. And they are also very flexible. They can change. If they know that they are wrong, they are free to change themselves into a better person. They are never shy to admit they did something wrong. What are also other qualities? When you are in the team, each team member is important. Very often some of the bosses will say, or some of the leaders will say, oh, this person is always making noise. His emotions are not important. But that is the important thing. You cannot ignore any member. So you have to develop an emotional culture in your team. That means each team member is given value. Each team member is given importance and listened to. One important thing about the emotional intelligence is we should learn to read facial expressions. I cannot see your facial expressions, so I cannot tell if you're all enjoying my talk or being bored or doing something else, right? If I can interpret facial expressions, I will know if you're all absorbed or not. And they will also follow the vocal tone and body language. Eyes are the windows to the soul. Learning to read facial expression, Charles Darwin, as early as 1872, suggested that irrespective of the culture, there is a universal expression of different emotions. If you are happy, people of all cultures look the same way. If you are sad, they do the same thing. So this is something very unique about the facial expression of different emotions. And this research has led to create programs to identify different emotions. You can all read the faces: joy, surprise, contempt, sadness, anger, disgust, and fear. You have sensed this in people, but have you truly studied them? When you are holding a meeting, have you seen the faces of your team members? If they are happy with what you are saying, if they are contemptuous of what you are saying, If they are surprised at what you are saying, you have to be alert about that. Then you can have a good understanding of where your team comes from. They even have facial recognition software. Would you know that? And these are all the commercial things available for facial recognition. Probably Lisa can tell us more about it. She may be aware of those. All right. Now let us go to how we cultivate emotional intelligence. I'm going to my favorite slogan. Spread your wings. Spread your wings. S is for searching for your strengths. P, positive personal growth and development. R, responding to people and environment. E, emotional awareness. A, absorbing different cultures and attitudes. D, deriving true pleasure in mentoring others. Now let us go ahead and start with searching for your strengths. You are going to set on a journey of self-discovery. In a workshop situation, I would have given you all homework, but here I'm not doing it. Ask yourself, who are you? What are you? How are you? When somebody is asking you, who are you? How do you define yourself? Do you define by your job, or by your position, or by your gender? By what your boss and co-workers think about you? By what your friends tell about you? You always have all these things influencing you when you think about who you are. What are you? I'm asking a question. Do each one of you know what your strengths are and what your weaknesses are? Are you self-absorbed, always taking care of yourself, not thinking of another person? Or all the time you are caring for others? Are you sincere, or are you just paying lip service? Can you go deeper into yourself and bring out a better person and help everybody? How are you when you are confronted with the challenges, under pressure, when you are tired, or when you have a big responsibility, or you are responsible for the well-being of others? For example, if you are a district officer, responsible. Today, focus is on positive personal growth and development. What are the tools for personal growth? Knowledge. Knowledge is power. Keep learning. Go to the Toastmasters website and learn as much as you can about what Toastmasters organization is all about. Learn what is needed to fulfill the responsibilities in this family of organization. Do not take a responsibility because you want to have a position to get your DTM or something like that before you fully understand what is required of you. Use your inner resources. Be aware of your inner resources to be the best you can be. So the more you learn, stronger you are. Do not take shortcuts. Do not pretend to be someone you are not, because it will be exposed. So do not pretend. Share your knowledge. Knowledge never dries out. Share your knowledge. The more you share to others, the more it grows. Choose a strong mentor for yourself to guide you and to tell you, hey, Subhi, you are doing something wrong. I have had several mentors in my life, and I'm very grateful to them. I still do have mentors, and including my own husband, who is a first mentor for me. You choose a strong mentor to guide you and to make you stronger. And you pass on the knowledge to others. Responding to people and environment. How often we sit next to a person in the Toastmasters meeting and we don't know that person's background. And sometimes we have preconceived notions and we may not take kindly to some people. So responding to people and the environment is a vital part of our lives. So what you need to do, you aim to be an inclusive leader. Inclusive leader has a visible commitment to people, and he is humble, he or she is humble, and it doesn't mean that he's a superhuman and doesn't have any biases. Yes, they have their bias, but at the same time, they know to control it and not let it get the better of them. They are always curious about others. Be curious. If somebody is sitting next to you and you don't know that person, ask questions and try to get to know that person. Cultural intelligence. Don't rule out friendship with people because they belong to a different culture or they come from different country. No. And that is how you set up effective collaboration. That is the symbol of being an inclusive leader. We always talk, oh, we embrace diversity. And what happens in reality? Look, that's what happens. There's a lot of conflicts, a lot of fights. Why does it happen? Because we refuse to acknowledge really that diversity exists. We just talk about it, but we do not acknowledge it. Remember, not everybody is created equal. And supposing you see so many Subis, it is boring. We cannot have everybody created as the same person. And not everyone is knowledgeable also about the other person's true personality. You know why? Look at the diversity that we have in age. I mean, I can give a big lecture on this alone. Diversity is universal. You have a choice. You can just close your eyes and pretend the diversity does not exist. Or you can open your eyes and embrace diversity knowingly. You have to make a willful choice. You need emotional intelligence to do that. If you are blocked by all your preconceived notions, you are not going to get it. Emotional intelligence, therefore, is the recognition of differences. First step is to recognize there is a difference in the culture, there is a difference in emotion, and there is a difference in intelligence. And you deal with people according to these differences, recognizing them. And then the next step, you go a little further, make an attempt to get to know them, understand those differences, and accept and embrace those differences. How to improve your own emotional intelligence? There are these steps that the big authorities tell us. First of all, learn to deal with your negative emotions. In life, always, you don't get things that you want or the things that you worked for. And there is always a person who is not pleasant to you or who is always negative with you. Learn to deal with the negative emotions that experience stirs up. This is very difficult to do, but learn to stay calm and cool under pressure. It is easier said than done, I accept, but with practice, it can be achieved. And learn to read body language. When you are talking with somebody, see from their body language if they are not happy with something you said. Don't be conceited not to ask them questions. Ask them, did I say something wrong? I saw some different expression. What did I say that you did not like? And learn from them. They will tell you if you ask them. And that way you will also get closer to that person instead of becoming in an antagonistic way. But this does not mean you give up your personality. You have to be assertive. You have to be confident, and you have to express your true emotions when necessary. You cannot let people walk all over you. No. You do express your emotions. You fight for yourself. And also, especially, they are saying in close and personal relationships, learn to express intimate emotions in a friendly way and say it out. You know, you said this at this time, and I was not happy with it. It hurt my feelings. There is nothing wrong in telling that. Even when you are having a committee meeting, area council meeting, tell your club members or club officers, what you said was not appropriate. You can tell them in the intimate settings. Now, absorbing different cultures, there's a challenge that really requires a drive. Not everybody is built to accept different cultures or different religions. That's that knowledge, that the feeling that there are no barriers in this world, when that comes to you, that is, there comes a serenity. But you have to have that drive to understand other cultures. You have to get closer to those people that are of different culture and try to understand their background, their culture, their habits, their customs, and share with them your habits, your culture, your festivals. And with that comes the knowledge. And then with the knowledge comes the strategy, how you can work with them. Because you understand, for example, some cultures, they are so polite, they are not going to argue with you. And you know that. Once you understand that, bring that person out. Encourage that person to tell what he or she thinks. And in the action also, some people are timid about taking action. Others are very aggressive in taking action, depending on the culture they come from. So try to understand and interpret what they are doing in terms of their culture. Then your teamwork will be very excellent on top of the world. Curiosity. This is a part that all of us should really encourage. Curiosity. Remember, as we were growing up as children, we were curious about everything. We wanted to know about everything. Curiosity is very important, is as important as intelligence. You acquire intelligence because you are curious. Have a hungry mind. Be inquisitive. Be open to new experiences. Albert Einstein said, I have no special talents. I'm only passionately curious. Think of Albert Einstein saying that. And Newton, he did the same thing with the gravitational force. Who would have thought of it? The apple is falling down, and he is curious about the apple falling down, and the gravitational force discovery comes in. And a curiosity can be developed, but IQ cannot be developed, but curiosity can. Very important. This I firmly believe in. Whatever you choose to do, whether it is your job, whether it is a hobby, or whether it is Toastmasters, be passionate about what you are doing. and truly love the people as they are. Don't put them with a halo and then get disappointed. Be realistic, but still love them and care for them as they are. Don't expect them to be different and that you can mold. You cannot mold the people. But if you understand the people, you can deal better with them. This is the best part of being a leader, mentoring. As we go through the leadership, how many people are there that have mentored you on the way? Remember them with gratitude. They say, before you become a leader, success is all about growing yourself. You are saying, me, me, me. I have to do this, I have to do that, I have to get all these DTMs. And when you become a true leader, suddenly it is about growing others. It is how many people you helped to advance. How many people are there that are carrying your torch? That is the important thing, because in life, that is what's going to last after you're gone. What it means is you have to forget yourself. You are not in it for yourself. Very early on, when I became a leader, one of the leaders told me, Subhi, it is not about you. And that was a very important advice. Yes, it is not about you. And you always focus on the needs of your mentee. That mentee is looking to see what he or she can learn from you. Be a role model and help him, guide him, give honest advice. Don't fumble. Don't tell him what is not true. Tell him what is true so that he can improve. All right, folks, what did we learn? Spread your wings. Searching for your strengths, positive personal growth and development, responding to people and environment, emotional intelligence, absorbing different cultures and attitudes, deriving pleasure in mentoring others. And District 58 Toastmasters, we are family. Spread your wings with emotional intelligence. Fellow Toastmasters. Thank you.
Subhi, thank you very much for that enlightening presentation. Please, if you have questions for Subhi, put them in the chat box and we'll do it. And I'd also like to compliment Subhi personally, because she actually came in 12 minutes under time. This is a new personal best for Subhi. Gotta love it. So please put your questions in the chat box. We are now open for Q&A. And I cannot believe that nobody has a question.
You have to give us time to type it in.
We can also do it via audio if you'd like, Alan.
Yeah.
You're up.
Subhi, what made you, hey, what made you think about emotional intelligence and making that presentation in particular to District 58 leaders, past leaders, present leaders, and future leaders?
Very excellent question. All of you are aware of the conflicts and the conflicts among the teams. It is universal among all, not only Toastmasters, but in many company or any institution, conflicts and conflicts and conflicts. And they all come because we don't understand where people come from. And we don't have the patience to understand people. And I firmly believe that in the leadership, like even for TLIs or for the district leader training, they should have a module for emotional leadership training. There is a way to do it, and if we can do it, it will be wonderful. We can avoid all these conflicts that we are seeing, because right now we are barely scratching the surface when it comes to conflicts in the districts. That is something that we sweep under the rug, but emotional intelligence and the courses to learn how to do it will really help. We need to provide training for our leaders, starting from the club level, and that is what will help. That is why it is almost like, for me, it has become a very important thing to talk about.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Alan, for your question. Subi, we have a question in the chat box from Amy. I have a team of 25 people in my department. What tools do you recommend for us to begin to understand each other?
Have coffee with each of them at different times and interact with them. Consider that everybody in your team is important. Don't have preferences and work with all of them. Try to understand where they are coming from. If they are not submitting things on time, or they having a personal problem, call them personally and talk to them in a sympathetic way. Empathy is a very important quality. Talk to them and ask them what is the matter. And if they are indifferent to you, or if they are not responding to you, observe their facial expressions, as I told you. And are they not respecting you? And you have to find out why they are not respecting you, what problems they have with you, what challenges they have with you. You have to go deeper and understand each person to really get to know them and befriend them. Befriending is very important. And I have noticed, even if you have a cup of coffee with that person on one-to-one basis, and you don't talk anything, let them talk. And when they do that, you learn a lot more about the other person, and then that person also will feel you are empathetic towards that person and will work better with you. Friendship. Treat the team as a family. Then you have got it all done.
Thank you, Subi. Amy, does that answer your question?
Thank you.
So, Subi, you mentioned culture in a lot of your presentation. District 58 is a polyglot. There's a lot of cultural amalgamation going on in our district. How can we better position ourselves to learn about other cultures that we're not familiar with? Their cultural stereotypes, whatever their archetypes are, however those cultures exist, and ways we can better interact with them.
That is, our first step is to take the first step, to extend our hands in friendship towards people from different culture and ask them about what they do differently, what festivals do they celebrate, what make them give a talk in the clubs about their personal customs, and that customs based on religion, based on country, whatever is the difference. Let them talk about it, and that way you are understanding that person, where that person comes from. Get to know that person instead of making the person feel he is an oddball. No, you embrace that person to belong to the club or belong to the organization, and that way you will get the benefit of his or her best to you.
Thank you. From the chat box, in the time we're in now, we're trying to transition between this physical and this virtual world and getting ourselves used to it. How would you suggest that people join an online club meeting and get to learn about other clubs and cultures?
By talking about it. Why not give presentations about different cultures? We celebrated Passover, we celebrated Easter, I celebrated New Year in Tamil New Year. So I bet none of you knew about the Tamil New Year. So ask us what things you do, what holidays do you celebrate? Have it as a theme one time for your club meetings. And let each person come out and say what different things they are doing at home, that different festivals or different things. And then you will find there's something common. See, all these things happen in the same month, different religions. And that should make us think, right? So that kind of thought-provoking presentations should happen.
Thanks.
So we still have some time left. Other comments in the chat box, or you can also unmute yourself and ask a question to Subi.
I have a question.
There are two questions there.
Felicia, yes.
Yes, I have a question. In this time and age, of course, we're all adults and just learning and growing. I would like to know, because personally, I'm one of those ones, I'm impacted or influenced more by learning from mistakes than anything. I've learned some of the greatest lessons and received some of the best advice, or even just how to go forward in success from failures. Can you tell me a time when you've learned a great lesson from maybe a past failure?
Oh, yes. I can tell several things. When you are starting your leadership, you think that you know everything. That's a mistake each one of us do. This is very true. And I also was not an exception. I used to end up doing things by myself when I was club growth director. I felt like, oh, let me help. Let me do this. Let me do that. And I will go and start the demo meetings. I'll enlist the people to do everything. I was working very hard. I was traveling all over the South Carolina. Afterwards, I realized I didn't have to do it. I had just to delegate. So when you delegate to somebody, that person learns from you. This I learned real fast. I would say that was one of my major problem, that I had that impulse to get it done fast. I can do it. No, okay, resist that impulse and give another person a chance, and make sure, give a chance, delegate, but verify. That I would say.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Subi. So from the chat box, we actually have a question. How would you transform emotional leadership into table topics?
Into what?
Table topics.
Table topics. Well, we are so many of us, let us do it.
We have time.
I challenge you. All of you, come with a question.
So you can either raise your hand or you can actually unmute and speak.
Yeah. You can unmute. Lisa, come on, go for it.
Do you want me to ask a question or answer a question?
You ask a question first, and you answer also afterwards.
Wow. Okay. I bet like 37 questions in my head. Top question. What would you say would be the biggest advantage to understanding not just the body language and facial expressions and so forth of someone, but also understanding their mindset when you're in a conflicting situation. So, and I train conflict resolution, so that's kind of where I'm coming from with this, and I know what the answer is, but for everybody else that may not know, how the hardest part when you're in a situation like that is taking out the emotion and leaving the emotion behind you and seeing the situation clearly and concisely for what it is. And so what would you say would be your first line of attack to be able to handle that situation? If you're brand new to a situation, it's your first time that you're making that effort to not react emotionally, but see the situation clearly first before you respond.
Subi?
Anybody? Oh, you want me to answer?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, this is you.
Oh, I see. Okay. I thought that each one of you will ask the group and somebody will volunteer. Okay, I can answer. Very important is to leave emotions out of it. And it's not done easily, especially if you're in that situation. Let me take an example. An area director is never attending any of the deck meetings and has not visited any club, has not done anything, and this situation happened to me. How do you face it? And you confront that person and you say that, is there something not right? Is there some problem that you are facing that you need to tell us about? Do you need help? That kind of questioning will help. And if it does not help, then you have to take strict measures. That is for sure. But generally, then you go to the other person, or if that other person is very rude to you, you say that my feelings were got hurt. You have to admit your susceptibility at that time. And that I am hurt with what you said. And can you explain to me where that feeling comes from? Why you had that feeling? And that will disarm the other person. Sometimes it won't, but generally it does. I tried this with one person, and I even took Rajesh and I took that person for dinner and several times and talked to him, and nothing happened. So it can work or it cannot work. Lisa, you can give me your answer. I am curious to know with your experience.
Sure. And it is a difficult situation when you're the person that is in the direct conflicting situation. I'm a negotiator with multiculturals around the world, a liaison for a living. So I have the absolute awesome experience of being able to know a lot of different cultures, understand a lot of cultures, but then also be able to communicate and help those folks when they're trying to communicate, when they can't communicate and they're not seeing eye to eye, because I have the ability to, I don't have my emotions tied to the situation. But when you're the person that's in that particular situation, it's one of those things where you almost have to remove yourself for just a few seconds and I almost call it almost like an out of body experience, where you kind of separate your mind from your body so that you can really be receptive to what you're hearing. Because of course, listening is the most important thing, and not reacting and listening to hear, not listening to respond. And generally when people do that, the situation typically will become less intense, just because the person that has the conflict, or the person that has the issue at hand, if you will, at least feels like they're heard And because a lot of times we know, even with our families and friends, sometimes somebody just, you have a bad day ourselves and we need to call somebody. And it's not that we necessarily need advice. We just need to be able to talk to somebody, just to know that somebody out there is listening. And really, conflicts are really no different. Granted, just like you gave in your example, it doesn't work 100% with everybody. But the thing is, as you, the individual, you know that you do your best to be able to resolve the situation. And if you do your best to act accordingly, that's really, as an individual, all you can do, from your personal experience when you're involved in the conflict. 99 times out of 100, they're resolved and things are okay. We do a thing at work, and you can cut me off anytime you want, but we do a thing called clearing withholds, WITHHOLDS. I don't know if anybody's ever done that, but basically, and I thought about doing it with the deck this year, but I didn't want to, and it's not that I didn't want to scare anybody, but there's so much to learn and so much to go through, and I didn't know that we would necessarily really need it. But basically, it's all the points that you're talking about. Let somebody know how you're feeling, and it's using I statements, not you statements.
Yes.
When I heard you say this, it made me
Me.
feel
Yeah.
this way. And so when we do a withhold, what you do is first you'd say, Subi, I have a withhold. Would you be willing to hear it? If you say no, that's okay. I ask then, when would there be a time when you would be willing to hear it? Now, of course, the buy-in of the team in the beginning is that everybody has to say, buy into that. Yes, you will say yes to this at some point. But sometimes we have other things going on. And then at that point, that's when you're saying, when I heard this, it made me feel this way. And that way people aren't feeling threatened that you're saying your statements and so forth. And so it's just a matter of the language even is really important.
I was reminded of different cultures. When I was at the medical university, I had fellows from Egypt. I had fellows from Israel. I had fellows from Hungary, and also the local American people that were different religions. And so at times they used to have religious discussions. And, and according to one person, only Pope goes to heaven. So I told him, listen, 60% of the population are not Christians. And even if they are Christian, he said, no, not all Christians will go to heaven. Only Catholics will go to heaven. So I said, oh, then you are narrowing it even further. I said, I cannot believe in a God that closes the doors on majority of the people just because they don't follow a particular religion. And so that raised a lot of discussion, but we did it in a very friendly way. And then the gentleman from Egypt said, well, the Pope gets converted. Did you all know? He gets converted to Islam before he dies. And so I'm just telling you that how different people have different points of view. And what you do, that is important. We listen, we absorb, we understand better where they are coming from. And I had no problem with them. They all loved me, and we worked together, and they knew I cared for them, and they cared for each other. And we were like family. So I encourage them to talk more so that they can share this kind of ideas. It is very amusing when I think about it. You brought me back those memories.
So we basically have time for one more question. If anybody would like to do it vocal or also via the chat box.
There are two questions in the chat box. That's an old one.
Nope, no, we answered all of them. Sorry.
Okay.
So
come on, guys. Challenge me. Teresa, you are quiet. Come on. I know you can do better than that.
And if you're muted, you have to unmute yourself.
I'm hearing because, I work, I'm so impressed with what Lisa had to say. I work with conflict resolution, and I keep thinking about leadership and what is your intent. And for me, it's always to connect, not control.
Yes.
I think what is a good way to check our own intention, because part of emotional intelligence to me is my emotion is my intention. So I have to take my needs and set them aside for whatever the greater good of the cause
Exactly. Exactly. There is
So-
no self when you are a leader.
is.
There is no self when you are a leader. You have to constantly think of others. That is the challenge of being a leader.
But thank you. I think everything was wonderful. I'm so grateful for all your insight tonight. I think you did a fantastic job, Subi.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa. We have time for one more.
Yeah, I got a question for you, Subi.
Eric.
Okay. Eric.
In the spirit of diversity, could you tell us more about the Tamil holiday or Tamil holiday?
It is, you know, in India, we have so many states, and each state celebrates a new year, Indian New Year, on April the 14th, but they are called different names. And in Tamil, it is called Puthandu Valthukal. I mean, don't even try to say it. It's very challenging. But the Indian calendar is different in different states. But they all start the year, believe me or not, April 14th. And guess what? That is a time for Easter. And it's like you are celebrating life, beginning of life, and in different religions. And what more better proof you have than this for unity of religions? That all religions lead us to the same God.
Thank you.
You're
That's
welcome.
interesting to start the year off on April 14th, and in the US on April 15th, your taxes are due.
Oh.
So, Subi, we are about out of time. I want to congratulate you and commend you for this. This was a very, very good session. I love the feedback from people, both in the chat box and also verbally. So, hats off.
Thank you. Thank you. Could I have the recording of this session, please?
Absolutely. Subi, do you mind if we actually publish this recording?
Oh, yeah, sure. No problem.
This will actually be put out there, and James is actually clapping virtually for you. So, to everybody here, thank you and have a good evening.
Thank you very much,
you.
everybody.
Good night,
I
everybody.
enjoyed being
Bye.
Good night. Thank you so much, Subi.
Good night.
Good night, everyone. Thank you, Subi.
Good. Thank you. You're welcome.
Yes. Thank you, Subi. Have a good night.
Good night. Good night.